You can't have 40 billion people at your breakfast table. It's just not going to work. The math won't work. We're not going to have the water, the food, the grain in general, the supplies of protein of 1,200, 1,500 calories per day, even 2,000 calories a day, which is our current recommended amount of protein and sustenance. It's not going to work. So as an ecologist, all of these issues go through my mind the minute I hear the word population. And I think back to that little songbird I referenced in Santa Barbara who went extinct over a quarter century ago. And I really feel for the kids in Santa Barbara County who will never know that that bird existed. And for the kids in Colombia, or in Niger, or in India, or in Tibet, or wherever you care to look on this planet where species are going extinct. And they're going extinct not just as individual species, but as populations. And some scientists are saying over 42,000 discrete populations of organisms are disappearing every day, 24/7. This is huge headline news, and no one is relating it to the underlying cause, and that is the human population explosion. That's where we have to really focus in on this dialogue. As activists, as thinkers, as ethicists, as politically motivated activists, all of these forces come together in single individual conversations, and that's called education. Our consumption as a nation, starting from day one that we're born, outpaces every other nationality on the planet, with perhaps a few little enclave exceptions. But as a nation of 310 million, we are a force of nature in terms of our consumerism. And if you multiply the level of our consumption, which for a child can be 10, 20, even 60 times more inflictive on the earth than a fellow child in a country like Bangladesh or many of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa or other parts of the world where poverty is endemic and systemic. And with that, all of the lack of rights guaranteed to women and the political corruption that is also systemic. Even you can relate American consumption to the winnowing of democracy in this country. There's an old story that's really fascinating that when Roosevelt was in his first term, and if you wanted to reach Roosevelt, it took maybe 40 or 50 people in between you and the president. Today, if you want to reach a president, there's at least 6,000 people between you and the president. In other words, our democracy and our ability to have a voice is shrinking with the population explosion. The people coming into this country who want to adopt, naturally, the same lifestyle as governs our ethics and aspirations and visions for the future across America, who could blame them? Of course that's what they want, and that's what they're going to get at some level or not. So we have to take that into account when we factor the weight of the population explosion. Because what is the population explosion if not as how we define it in terms of impact? If it didn't have an impact on the earth, we wouldn't be so concerned about it. But it does, and every individual counts. And that's been the missing story, that every individual is part of this colossal whopper of a package, which is the American way of life, which, as we know, many have argued is not up for grabs, but it is up for grabs. And we have to face that fact. I think that we can't really talk about population issues in the United States unless we're willing to confront the immigration issue, which of course made this country. We're all descendants of immigrants. But going forward and where we are today, immigration is definitely driving key problems within the population explosion in the United States. It is driving it in terms of the fertility rate, in terms of the number of kids who are dropping out of schools, in terms of the people who are not getting the jobs they deserve because we don't have the capacity or the infrastructure to cope with what has become, sadly, a burden of too many people in the United States. And I'm talking about the full spectrum of occupations, of professionals, of people who are really impoverished, looking for a better lifestyle, just like my great-grandparents did. But as we confront the ecological realities of the United States in the 21st century, we don't have the luxury to let everybody in. I believe we're at a tipping point in terms of our humanity, where it's starting to stare back at us in a very stark, ecologically mired mirror that nobody is happy with. And I think that CAPS is one of those, I would have to say, courageous organizations that is taking this issue on. Despite certain criticism, despite fractiousness, despite all of the same complaints and problems that we have faced within the broader environmental movement, CAPS has grappled with the hard issues. And they have really impressed me by promoting specific issues, even bills, congresspersons who are fighting the good fight on both sides of the aisle. And they go to Congress, they speak to communities, they're educating environmental scientists, and they're, I think, waking up millions of people based on the web hits their sites are getting and their YouTubes are getting about the problems of immigration, the problems of traffic, of air pollution, of medical epidemiology, whether it's lung disease or emphysema in children. Everything that CAPS does comports with data that is up to date, up to the minute, often breaking news, and is kind of terrifying, actually, because you don't often see an organization that combines and really beautifully orchestrates without editorializing the stark facts in juxtaposition: politics, religion, ethics, and science. These are tough ones to put together in the same room, especially at the same lunch table, but they manage somehow to do it. And whether they win or lose on any given day, they are persistent, and they've been there for over a quarter century. Millions of people are learning the issues through CAPS. Environmental scientists, college students, especially in California, are really coming to understand that population is an issue they need to be concerned about. Not just concerned, they need to take an active stance one way or the other, and I think CAPS is a part of their lives now.